This is Neil Schneider for MTBS-TV at GDC 2019. I've lost count of how many years we've been doing this now. To my immediate right is Tim Roos, who's CEO of ZeroLatency, and to his immediate right is Scott Vendunkala. Try to do that twice.
Yeah.
He's CTO of ZeroLatency. Welcome to the program, gentlemen.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you.
So you guys, I know with the big titles and everything, but the fact is you're the co-founders of this, of ZeroLatency.
Yeah.
How did you guys get started?
So we've been building this product for almost 6 years. It was one of Scott's ideas back in late 2012 to mash together optical tracking and the Oculus Rift, and I guess take VR from something that was a pretty isolated stationary experience to something that was 8 players, super social, and really take it to like a Gen 2 platform straight out of the box.
Amazing. Now, for those unfamiliar with what ZeroLatency does, what does ZeroLatency do?
So we do warehouse scale virtual reality entertainment type of systems. So we do, instead of seating or seated or standing experiences when you're inside VR, you've actually got a really, really big space to run around with your friends and socialize and engage in a virtual world kind of a bit more naturally. You don't have to use anything artificial to walk around, you just get to walk. So
I know the word warehouse should kind of give it away, but what kind of floor space are we talking about when we're talking about warehouse VR?
So we're talking about 200 square meters or more, which is just over 2,000 square feet. So fairly large spaces, definitely. Yeah.
Amazing. And you're all over the world, I understand. Where do you have setups?
Oh, we've got setups in 18 different countries, so all through North America, through Europe and Southeast Asia, to Singapore, a couple in Australia, about to put a third one into Australia. So there's one in Las Vegas here, one in Arizona, also Boston. So we're really expanding out that footprint at 30 centers now. So we'll probably be close to 60 to 70 by the end of the year.
Now, these centers, are they standalone centers, or would you find them in malls? Like, how would you find them?
Yeah, there's a combination. So what we do is we sell them to third-party operators in a licensed partner model, so a bit like a franchise. So they're set up in all over the place, really. Some malls, some are standalones. It really depends on the market.
Okay, wonderful. Now, Scott, you're CTO, so you got a lot of responsibility there, just as much as this guy, I'm sure. Yeah. So tell us about the technology used to make this work.
Well, we've actually just gone through a process of updating the technology in the platform. We started with like outside-in optical tracking systems for all the players and controllers and everything, and now we're moving to inside-out tracking. So we're using SLAM. We worked with Microsoft using their WMR platform, but the players are wearing a backpack, so they've got their own independent processing with them. But yeah, it just gives everyone that freedom of movement and all those sorts of things. But the SLAM tracking is going to make life a whole lot easier for us to set up more locations. Yeah.
So inside out, outside in, can you elaborate a little more as to what you mean by that?
Yeah, sure. So outside in tracking is where something is essentially monitoring you from the outside. So we used optical tracking systems originally, so you've got a lot of cameras which are watching what you do and then translating that into the virtual world. Whereas inside out is essentially where the player is tracking themselves. So they have cameras mounted inside the virtual reality head-mounted display, and that actually watches the world around them, and that works out what the player's position is. It works out they're tracking their movements, all those kind of things, as well as actually tracking their own devices.
I think it's a lot easier to manage in a scenario like that, yeah?
Yeah. Well, it gives us a lot more flexibility. We can do almost unlimitedly large locations because the player monitors their own position, so it could be anywhere. We could be out here on the street and play if we really wanted to. It gives you a lot more flexibility.
Wonderful. Now, Scott, you gave mention to these packs. Are we talking like Ghostbuster power packs here? Like how are they getting around this VR facility?
Yeah, so they're essentially a backpack computer. So it's a pretty powerful machine in a backpack running on batteries, and then a headset. So the backpacks in Gen 2 are made by HP, which are a fantastic unit, and we're getting a lot of more graphical grunt out of it, which is really important to take those experiences to the next level. It's where they need to be.
Okay, good stuff. So let's talk about the experiences. I mean, sure, you got this great equipment, you got this warehouse that people are ready to walk and run around in. What can people do?
So we've got 6 games, but our latest title, which we're probably the most excited about, is called Soul Raiders. And that's our first ever foray into competitive content. So it's a player versus player game. It's 4v4 or 2v2 or 3v3, and you take on a robot avatar, and you essentially need to go through these otherworldly environments, hunting down these soul cores. So the way we've designed it is it's made to be not just a team deathmatch. We did that early in the piece in our development. It's just not as much fun as coming as a group. You've got a shared goal. It's kind of a payload style levels, and you've got to work together collaboratively to achieve this goal. And it works a little bit like soccer or basketball. The idea is to get these items and essentially score goals, with the view to move it from a competitive game into a first ever, I guess, esport in virtual reality that you actually get to move around in.
Yeah.
So you brought up the E word. I was going to, but I'm glad you did first. Let's talk a little bit about esports and virtual reality esports. Does Zero Latency have a play there?
Yeah, so that's what we're doing with Soul Raiders, is turning it into an esport eventually. You can't just create an esport out of the ground. Obviously, you need to build a following. So what we're doing at the moment is making sure we've got a great game, deploying that to all our 30 sites, starting to get feedback from customers, making sure that it's fun, it's fair to play, that when you come for the first time, you want to come for a second and third time, and then also building out leagues, tournaments, different membership structures, because obviously part of location-based VR is you've got to come to a centre and pay to play. So it's working out that bit of the model first. But look, it's been really well received, and it's a different level when you've got to come and play against somebody else, and it's constantly different because your enemies are human beings, and obviously keeps it constantly refreshed, which is really, really exciting.
All right, good stuff. Now, Scott, I imagine a big responsibility with this is to make sure everyone has a good time with the technology. Yes. Nobody needs to have the technology headaches. They want it working right out of the gate, yeah?
That's right.
So maybe you could tell us about the types of people that are going to enjoy the zero latency experience. Are there age groups? Do families come? Like, who ultimately goes to the centers?
We get a pretty massive range of people of all different ages coming into play. So I'd say anything from sort of teenagers right through to people like 60 and even higher. So I think average age of our gamer is around 30. So, and it's just a huge spread. So everyone enjoys it, like men, women, everything. We have people who come in who are gamers, but people who are completely not gamers. We've had some people we've had a lot of people actually come in and they hadn't played games since like maybe the 90s or something like that. They hadn't touched computers or consoles, but it doesn't matter. You can come in and definitely enjoy it straight away just because it's so easy and intuitive to use. You don't have to learn a controller or like of any complexity. Like, it's just kind of hold our blaster rifle. If you can pull the trigger, then you're pretty good to go. So
wonderful.
Pretty much everything.
And I think that's been a real sort of bonus for what it is. We've got I call them like the GoldenEye generation. There's people that come and play, and the last game they played was GoldenEye at university, and they come back, which is really exciting to see them re-immersed in video games and re-engage in them. But plus, used to be a lot of hardcore VR enthusiasts and more hardcore gamers, but increasingly it's just people that want to come and do something fun and social with their friends, which is a really important part, I think, of any location-based experience.
Just so I know, how long is a round in your experience? Like, how long do people play at a time?
Anywhere from 15 minutes to 45 minutes, depending on the game and the content. So, yeah.
Your money's worth.
Yeah,
Yeah.
All right, wonderful. How can people, you've got installations all over the world. How can people try this stuff out? Where do they get more information?
Yeah, absolutely. Just go to ZeroLatencyVR.com, and then you hit book now, and it'll take you to the centre nearest to you.
All right, wonderful. Thank you both for joining us.
My pleasure.
No worries. Thank you very much.
This is Neil Schneider for MTBS-TV at GDC 2019. We will, of course, be back with more. Thank you for watching.